Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? I wanted to say good morning and also to talk with you about an important subject, which is something I deal with every day in the office, which is the experience of being an adult child. Many people are adult children. Many people have grown up in alcoholic homes and dysfunctional homes, and they come into my office because they're working with a psychotherapist because they don't know what normal is. There are many things that are the traits of someone who's an adult child, and I want to have a courageous conversation about that, and maybe you can recognize that as well. But firstly, let's share. I want you to share, and I want to share too, this particular posting, because there's something kind of important about all of this. And so let me just move my camera so that I can share. Hello. Let me do that. I'm going to share it on my page. And I'm going to share it on my group, Courageous Conversations. And I would love you to do that as well, because I'm going to be talking about an important topic, which is essentially what happens when a person grows up in a home that's dysfunctional, traumatic, and a home that is, there are traits that evolve with people. So give me a sec, let me just do this. Hope everyone's well on this beautiful Toronto morning. It really is quite a stunning morning. And also, I want to wish everyone a spectacular Thursday. I find that this is my real hump day, I feel. And how are you all feeling today, this morning, as you navigate through life? Let me just see here. I'm just putting it on all these lovely pages. Give me a chance, and then we'll get to the meat of this. But as you come on, just share as well, because I think this is going to be important information for you, for everybody. All right. Okay, so do you know what ACA is? Have you ever heard of that terminology, ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families? Do you know what the laundry list is? Have you ever heard of that? It strikes me as something really important that I wanted to share with people, which is some people may not know what that is, and also they may not know that if they did grow up in that situation, what some of the traits are, and possibly making decisions in their life. Like, you might be making decisions in your life based on what you went through as a child. And I'm back in a very dysfunctional home, but what ended up happening was you didn't know that you, for example, get bored easily and then quit a job, leave a relationship, change homes simply because you're bored. Simply because you're bored, because there's something that happens around an addiction to excitement. A lot of ACAers are pretty addicted to excitement and have an aversion to boredom, and then just simply kind of almost sabotage their life with impulsive changes. I don't know if anyone recognizes that in themselves, but this whole notion of just shifting your life based not on logical reasons to do that, but just on, I'm bored. I need a change. This intimacy thing is too much. I've got to just run. I've got to just, I've got to run. Almost like a commitment phobia to anything stable, because growing up, life was not stable. And so there's almost an aversion to stability. It's like, stability I can't trust. Chaos I can trust. Stability scares me. Excitement and kind of non-stable experiences are what are familiar to me. Make yourself known, make your presence known as you come on here, and because I think this is an important, and I wanted to sort of talk about the laundry list. And who's familiar with the laundry list? The first thing I want to ask is, do you feel at all that you have no idea what normal is, or have difficulty? I'm just giving you part of what ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, sort of gives as material for you to sort of start to assess, is this me? Is this, is this something that I can relate to? And these are things that are important for you to look at. So always guessing at what normal is, really difficult time following through on a project from beginning to end, lying when it's just as easy to tell the truth, which I find interesting, judging yourself without mercy, just being so judgmental, having difficulty having fun, and taking yourself I recognize that in myself, taking myself a little too seriously, even though I've got a good sense of humor, but I find that I sometimes take myself a little too seriously, which is something that I'm working on, just to be able to laugh at oneself and not have a problem with that, just to be able to just laugh. And then having difficulty with intimate relationships, as I mentioned earlier, sort of having an aversion to intimacy, essentially. When the childhood is chaotic, when there's violent communication, when there's addiction, when there's a lot of dysfunction and manipulation and violent communication, people will have a tremendous difficult time later on in life developing intimate relationships. And because they were never trained or never taught those types of connections and that type of attachment. And what happens is that there becomes an attachment wound. An attachment wound. There is an overreaction to change, and so deep need for control, a deep, profound over need for control. I mean, we all want to have a measure of control over our life, but when you're just over controlling everything, you might want to rethink that or look at that. Affirmation junkie, seeking approval, and also feeling like you're kind of an alien, feeling like you're different from other people. And also, this one's a huge one to recognize, overly responsible, feeling like you're super duper responsibility sponge person, taking responsibility for other people's feelings, all things around you. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And the adult child will have that as, I recognize this I have quite a few people that I work with over the years and currently, which they didn't know that this is why they were, hi Jennifer, why they were actually experiencing these symptoms, and didn't even know that they were sort of categorized in that way, which I'm not trying to categorize, I'm just trying to have you kind of, it's like helpful to know, oh, that's what this is about, and understand that the other one that's huge is extremely loyal, remaining in situations much longer than you need to, being, overly loyal, and almost where loyalty is undeserved, which is kind of interesting. And then I want to just sort of talk about that. That's kind of a basic list, but I'd like to tell you what the actual list is. That's kind of like an overview, but one of them is, I want you to seek out this word called the laundry list, which is a list of characteristics in common with people who grew up in an alcoholic home, an addiction home, or a very dysfunctional home. Now, dysfunction is, pretty, it's rampant. Yeah, so many people, most people grow up in some sort of a dysfunctional home, in fact. But this is where where the family of origin is just really dysfunctional, and where there's addiction, etc. And I'm going to read a couple of these for you. So here's the laundry list. Ready? Okay. We became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. That's a trait. That's one of the traits. Approval seekers and lost the identity, their own identity in the process. That's so huge. I would say that I wrote my book, Find Yourself Culture, as a way to really, really respond to the concept of don't lose your identity. Find out who you are, work on that, and fight for it and keep it. Find out who it is that you truly are, not just a reaction to others or a response to others. Find out who you are. Find out what your culture is, not your family culture, and fight for it and keep it. So that's why I wrote that book, by the way. Here's a big one. Here's another trait: frightened of angry people, and really, really overly sensitive to any kind of personal criticism. Impossible to take any kind of criticism. And I would say people need to work on being able to take criticism. I know I work on that, because sometimes people have some really, really good information to share with you, and you miss out on it if you're just an aversion to all criticism. And people who grew up in these in alcoholic homes or very dysfunctional homes either became alcoholics themselves or addicts in some way, married them, or both, or developed some other type of compulsive personality, such as workaholism, the societally vetted addiction, workaholism, because there is an abandonment need, almost like the person is almost addicted to abandonment, a need for abandonment, meaning they will develop all kinds of ways of being, addiction, married to an addict, workaholism, other addictions, as a way to not have connection with people, as a way to just experience abandonment over and over and over and over. And the truth is, there's a way out of all of this. I'll keep going on the list. How's everybody doing on this? These are intense topics for this hour of the morning. But an ACAer, which is what we call adult children, an adult child, sees the life from the viewpoint of being a victim. They feel like the victim all the time. And when you view your life from the viewpoint of a victim, you're attracted to experiences that make you feel like a victim again and again and again and again. And even in friendships and relationships, and it's a repeat trauma, a repeating of that. And people are doing this largely unconsciously, very, very unconsciously. And the other big one to recognize as a trait of being an ACA or an adult child is you feel guilty for everything. You feel guilty for standing up for yourself. You feel guilty for saying no. You feel guilty for giving in. You feel guilty for not giving in. Guilt is like a pervasive elixir or non-elixir, the anti-elixir living inside you. And and you might have one or two of these traits, but it's interesting when people have a lot of these traits. And a big one that I really want to highlight is the addiction to excitement and making decisions to, as I mentioned earlier, to leave situations, jobs, relationships, homes, countries, simply because you're bored and you cannot experience. And I can think of a number of case studies of people just literally leaving good jobs, good relationships because they're bored, and because there's pain involved with boredom, and that because the excitement of the dysfunction of growing up in that kind of an experience at home was so habituated, that then becomes a way to live life as an adult very unconsciously, just making decisions very unconsciously. And the sad thing is that people then sort of have a graveyard of good relationships that they've left, possibly. They may not even be that good, but some are good, or good jobs that they've left, or good homes that they've left, and kind of they wake up sort of in their mid-50s or whatever going, oh, I should have stayed over there, or I could have had this stability if I'd done this, or if I'd invested that then and didn't spend this money then, I would have had this. And there's a tremendous amount of regret. And the job of therapy in that regard is to forgive yourself, have self-compassion, but also understand what you're doing. Become awake, woke, as the kids say today. Get woke and go, what am I doing? Why do I keep doing this thing? And being able to just stop the constant changing just because you're bored. Sustain boredom. Get good with boredom. Work with boredom. Don't seek out excitement all the time, and as a way to just not feel. And so that's an important one. The other one is, not just, stuffing feelings, not, completely numbing out also is another trait. And it's point 10 on the laundry list. We have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods, and I'm reading here, and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it just hurts too much. So it's a profound denial. So the adult child is constantly just, high caring, staving off, high Pauline, staving off feelings, staving off all of the normal emotions that show up in normal life. And so denial is a perpetual way of being. And I would say the other one is judging yourself so harshly. And so the thing about adult children is I recommend that if you recognize, number one, Google the laundry list. Google adult child of an alcoholic and dysfunctional family, ACA, and take a look at that and see whether that resonates with you. Because maybe you're making decisions in your life based on that, on those traits and based on that experience. And you don't know it. You just think, well, this is normal. But a lot of ACAers have no idea what normal is, have just no idea what to call normal. And there's some great literature on this, great books on this, and I want people to wake up and go, what am I doing? What is happening here? Are you an alcoholic? Did you marry an alcoholic or an addict? Did you perhaps become a very dependent personality? Do you numb out? Are you addicted to excitement? Do you not know what normal is? Do you tremendously judge yourself all the time? Do you confuse love with pity and tend to be attracted to and marry or be involved with people that you either that you love, you think you love, but you actually pity them, and that's a huge one as well. Over loyalty, staying in relationships longer than needs to happen, sort of this over loyalty. These are all traits of the ACAer, and I feel like it's important to have a courageous conversation about what that is, even though sometimes it can be kind of uncomfortable to talk about that, but very, very important in my opinion to not ignore this and to realize that you're not alone. You are not alone. There are so many people that grew up this way and who are today adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s and are like this and are suffering tremendously because they're in a repeat cycle of all kinds of choices that are either because they're addicted to excitement or they can't sustain boredom or because the stability is just too difficult for them or because they fall in love with people that they pity or because they are themselves addicts or they married an addict. All of these things. It's a whole bunch of traits. So I hope this was helpful. This was, one of my courageous conversation, and share this if you know anyone who would benefit from this, because this is the kind of stuff that people aren't talking about kind of openly, and I want to have these courageous conversations with you. So more coming at you soon. If you have any questions, let me know. Please join my group, Courageous Conversations. I would love to have you there because we talk about these types of things. And not only that, there's a support energy in this group, Courageous Conversation. And do like my page, Courageous Conversations. And I just want to wish you the most profoundly joyous day. And love yourself. Be compassionate towards yourself. And find your self-culture. Fight for your self-culture. Don't just give it away. Don't just, let other people's cultures be your culture. No, find yours. Find out who you are. My first book, Find Your Self-Culture, is a great resource for you. And you can get it on my website, visualizationworks.com, because visualization does work. Big, big, big hugs. Have an amazing, amazing day. Bye for now.